Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Cristina Oxtra. Cristina is here to talk about her debut picture book, What Lolo Wants. In this heartwarming story, a girl and her grandfather share a love beyond words. It's sweet, it's moving, it's a wonderful conversation starter about how to navigate through family changes by continuing to care and connect. You know how much I love talking with debut authors, so we are going to get right to the episode. Christina, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
Hello. Hello, everybody listening. I'm so honored to be here. I'm a big fan. So like I said, I'm my fangirl for a few minutes here. It's like meeting my celebrity superstar. So it's an honor to be here.
Oh, that just makes my cheeks turn red in the most wonderful way. Well, I want to start off by saying congratulations. A debut book is such a special occasion. I love celebrating them on here. And so, congratulations above all else of anything we say today. What a beautiful honor that you have.
It's amazing. When I think about it and I see my book on the shelves or when I sign books, I still can't believe it. I think it's so surreal, given where I came from and then all the years and all the challenges coming here, I'm still kind of reeling. It was
Yeah.
published a year ago, but I'm still kind of like, wow, is this really happening?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So we want to know all the things. Tell us a bit about you and that journey that you've been on to getting to your debut book.
Uh, let's see, where do we begin? I'm a Filipino American author, so I was born and raised in the Philippines. So English is not my first language, Tagalog, so I speak Tagalog fluently. In fact, I learned some English in school, but I also learned by watching Sesame Street growing up in the Philippines, continuously, repeatedly.
Yeah.
Even if it was a rerun, I would watch it. And even my grandfather used to make fun of me. My Lola would make fun of me and say, like, you watched this 3 times over. I'm like, no, but I need to learn how E works, how the letter E works. As long E, and you add it to a word and it makes it sound different. And he's like, oh
Oh,
my goodness. But that's kind of how I learned. I didn't have access to a lot of books. Really, I don't remember going to a public library. We didn't really have transportation to get to one. If I did, I don't remember even going to the library at school. So, but I loved learning
mm.
and being like education. And my grandma used to buy me a children's magazine when I was growing up called Musmos. It was kind of like the equivalent of like highlights here in America.
Oh, I was such a fangirl of highlights in my young
Yeah.
days.
Oh, I love the highlights. And it's very similar to that. So whenever my grandma had some extra money, she would go and buy me this a month's issue of this Two Kids magazines, and I would read it from back to front, and I would dream of submitting things to them.
Yes.
Like one day I will get my stuff published in there. I have no idea. And one day they had asked for submissions for poetry, for a poem or something, and I submitted, and it was published. So
Wow.
here comes grandma with this issue showing everybody, the neighbors, everybody
Oh,
who can care to listen, that she was so proud. Of course, my Lola, my grandpa was proud too. And I said, whoa, there's something to this writing thing. This
yes.
is powerful. Like people are listening and reading. So I'm like, maybe this is what I want to be. Um, my hero in Sesame Street is Kermit the Frog because he was
Mhm.
a journalist. And so, wait a minute, he always gets his story no matter what and all these adventures. So, I want to be like Kermit the Frog. I want to be a journalist. So, fast forward, my family and I got the opportunity to immigrate to the US, and I became a journalist. And that's really when I really dug into telling stories and loving it. I thought I was going to be like Connie Chung, or I was going to work for National Geographic and travel the world. But somehow my writing kept going back to I like features, I like creativity. I didn't want to go to the city council, I didn't want to cover news, I hated politics. I wanted to talk to people and tell their stories. And I didn't know that that was a hint of where I should be going. I didn't know you could make a living like that. One day I wrote a story. I was in the military, I served in the US Air Force, and I had the assignment to cover. I said, I'd like to write about the canine unit, the dogs that the security forces, the cops use. I would like, because I wanted to do them. I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to get bitten by those dogs. I want to do something. And my article came out as and the editor laughed at this, and some people in my office laughed because I wrote it from the perspective of the dog.
Oh, I love that.
And they were like, what is this? They were thinking that it would be a story of the police, the
Right.
police, the security forces guy, and how he does his work and how he controls the dog and what they do. No, I wrote it from the perspective of the dog. And I still have a copy somewhere of that. And I got razzed about that. Even when there was a workshop years later for writing and editing, somebody brought it up. They didn't bring up my name, but they brought up, they're like, and this is what happens when you write about, from the perspective of a dog. And I'm like, wait a minute, did they read my article years ago? And I didn't have the chance to raise my hand and go, that was me that you're making fun of. So there's hints along the way that I
Yeah.
should be creative. Every time I tried a different career or write news, it always came back to creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how there was hints of that. And eventually I ended up many years later, in 2017, I went for my MFA in creative writing for children and young adults at Hamline University. And here I am now,
Right.
Um, so there were, I like to tell people if, your passion is there, it's going to keep creeping up. It's going to keep giving you hints. It's going to keep like poking at you. And if it's poking at you, whether it's writing, whether it's music, whether it's cooking, listen to it because I think that's probably where you should be going.
Yes. Yes. Isn't it funny how easy it is to just ignore them and
Yeah,
think, oh, that can't possibly be the
no,
direction I'm supposed to go in? Like, no. And when you look
no.
back, when you finally, I imagine when you finally went all in to that MFA and you look back and you thought, oh, I've been getting a lot of hints and I just never considered them as such.
Yeah, I felt like writing was probably looking at me and going, well, what took you so long to get here?
Yeah.
So yeah, listen to that little voice. Somehow we already know, I think, in our heart where we're supposed to go, but somehow we just keep finding ways to deny it, whether it's like, oh, I'm not gonna make a lot of money, oh, people are gonna make fun of me, oh, I'm not good enough. That's
Hmm.
another one, the imposter syndrome. But no matter what, I think somehow the roads always lead us to that
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. So did you struggle with some of those very sentiments that you just said as you moved into that next phase?
I did. While my first advisor for my MFA wanted me to explore, she looked at my samples of my work and thought, why aren't you writing about yourself? Why aren't you writing about all these stories and adventures that you
Mhm.
just told me? And I thought, well, nobody's going to care. Nobody is going to care about this little girl growing up in a third world country. Oh, who cares? They want to know about like magical schools
Yeah.
and grand adventures. These are not grand adventures. And so she kind of went a roundabout way of doing it. She had me do prompts from a magazine and had me submit to these magazines just for fun, she said, just for
Just for
fun.
fun.
And she was luring me to here, and I'm like, I'm trying to go kicking and screaming here, but I'm like, fine, I need to do this. I need to do my work. I'm in this class. And as I'm writing more and more about experiences, because they would ask, like, what's your most embarrassing moment? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to go into that.
Right.
But but I have to. But once I start digging into it, I realize I'm like, huh, maybe I do have some stories
Yeah.
to tell. Maybe it's okay. And maybe even if people don't listen, I actually felt good
Yeah.
after I wrote about these things. None of those little things I submitted got published, but somehow I found it almost therapeutic and
Mhm.
almost like I'm remembering things that I had so put away because I thought they didn't matter,
Yeah.
that now I'm like, huh, maybe they do matter.
Yeah.
And during my MFA, I was doing research in my local library and I found a book by Erin Entrada Kelly called Blackbird Fly. And
Yes. Oh, I love that book.
oh my gosh, it's the first book. I was already in my 40s. Dear listeners, it's never too late.
That's
And
right.
when I discovered this book and saw myself for the first time in this book, and when I was reading it, I said, oh my gosh, this sounds like me. Oh my gosh, this sounds like my mom. What? I read that book so fast. I couldn't put it down. I'm eating, I'm reading, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm reading. And this was amazing. And I realized, wait a minute, if this is how I felt reading this, and she is a female Filipino American author, this is how I felt. I'm like, well, maybe I can make other people feel the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe I could do the same and share and have that feeling that I'm feeling and give that to them too.
Yes.
It started out as just wanting to reach Filipino kids, but then eventually it blossomed into I want to reach everybody. Maybe
Hmm.
I can touch them the way she touched my heart and
Hmm.
inspired me. And by the end of my MFA, one night I have to turn in pages. I have to do my assignment. And I remembered my grandfather, and the story came out. And it was the easiest, not the easiest thing that I've written, but it just flowed out. Unlike all the other stories, these grand adventures and magical things I tried to write, where it was like pulling teeth, this one just kind of flowed for some reason. And at the end of it, I actually had tears in my eyes because I realized this was the one. This
Hmm.
was the story of my heart that whatever the universe had been trying to tell me to write. And
Yeah.
I've been ignoring this whole time.
Yeah.
And when I read it for my creative thesis to present it before I graduated, and people hugged me and there were tears in the tears in their eyes, I'm like, well, maybe
Hmm.
one day this will get published. I said, I'm reading it to you guys because I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day, but I want to share it to you with you guys just in case it never does.
Yeah.
I at least want to know.
Yeah.
I want to be able to share the story of my grandfather, and I hope you guys like it. And that was in 2019.
And it
And
has seen the light of day. And you've made this reader get tears in her eyes too. So your book is still touching people years later, but now to a wider audience. What a beautiful story of your debut.
I think it is quite appropriate to be my debut
Mhm.
because it was my grandfather who, when I was little, um, told me that he had a dream for me that one day I would come to America and make all my dreams come true. And I told him it was crazy. I told him it was impossible. As a child living in the Philippines, and just watching Sesame Street, thinking it was like, you might as well tell me I'm going to Mars. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So he passed away before we got here to America. And I just think it's a fitting gift to him that my debut is dedicated to. Okay, I'm gonna get the clumps.
That's
it's
okay.
dedicated,
I've cried more than once on this podcast.
it's dedicated to the man who had a dream for me
Yeah.
that I didn't realize until now
Yeah.
really meant the world to me. And this is hoping he's up there looking down and seeing, I told
Oh,
you so.
yes. Yes. What a beautiful legacy this book is to him for sure.
I hope so.
So let's talk more about the specifics of the book. So what Lolo wants, it's beautiful. It's beautiful in words, it's beautiful in pictures, which we'll talk about. It's beautiful in message, it's beautiful in spirit. It's everything a picture book should be. right? That just kind of wraps you up inside the pages. And I'd love for you to tell listeners a bit more about what the book is about. Now we know where the inspiration came from, and tell us a bit more about what happens inside the pages.
So it tells the story of Maria, grandchild, and Lolo. Lolo means grandfather in Tagalog in the Philippines, and their relationship of having this special connection where they have something special they do, which is drawing and
Mhm.
art, because grandpas are really awesome artists, like my own Lolo, and how they connected when Lolo started losing his memory, which can be very scary for an entire family and especially for a child. When
Yeah.
this happened to me, I was confused, I was frightened. Adults tend to not tell little kids about what's going on for fear that it might scare them, confuse them. But I think the scary and confusion also comes from nobody's talking to me. Nobody's explaining. Everybody's hush hush. And I don't know what's happening to my beloved grandfather. Um, so I was inspired to write about that. And one day that did happen to my grandpa, where he started forgetting names, he forgot people, and we were trying to figure out how to communicate with him. And we figured out art might be a way to do it. And that's kind of the inspiration for the story, that there's ways of communicating with your loved one. You might have to get a little creative
Yeah.
and finding out a way to still connect with them, and still make them part of your life, your daily life, because that's really important to them and that's really important for you.
Yeah. So I think I always question, what do I say about a book where I'm not giving away everything so that listeners have something to look forward to. But so I'm going to try to be a little cagey as I talk about it, but you have the relationship in the beginning, which is this light fun, like let's draw and what are you drawing? And I can't draw as well as you, but let's guess what I'm drawing. This really beautiful relationship around art as communication for them. And that shifts and changes, as you mentioned in the story. But in the end is what reignites the connection in a different way. And that little granddaughter does something towards the end of the book that she presents as a gift to her grandfather, which is where the tears started. Because it's not just figuring out a new way of communication, it was literally a gift of love to be able to find that common ground again. And I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about that because that's the part that just wraps you up from the page.
I think, yeah, and I got teary eyes that the first time I read, the first couple of times at least that I've read the ending of the book to people, I actually got tears in my eyes unexpectedly because I didn't expect that. Um, I think it comes from a place where I wish when I was a child that I would have found a solution, that I wish I could have done something like this. And I think that's where it came from, of I wish I could have figured something out and helped him. And so there's that little ache in the heart from that. And I think this actually, writing this book kind of filled almost that hole in my heart. I think when one of our loved ones is sick, um, we're looking for a way to fix it. There's got to be a way to
Yes.
fix it. But what if there isn't a permanent fix? What else can we do? And we always end children's books with hope.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give hope to families, to young readers, and let them know there is still a way. Grandma, grandpa, whoever it is that may be ill is still the same person that you love dearly, and there is still a way to make them feel loved and connected and make more memories.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where I came from, that place. And I hope that it touched my heart, and I hope it touched other people's hearts.
It did, and it will. And I think it teaches not explicitly, but I think the message that I was getting, and I imagine very implicitly other readers will as well, even if they can't articulate it. But there are so many things in life that we cannot control. We cannot control what happens in many situations. The only thing we can control is our response to what happens. And this book, in a roundabout way, just brings that message home of, we can't change what's happening to Grandpa in the story, but
Mhm.
we can change how we respond to it. We can change how we figure out what that through line is, and in that you feel better about the situation, which then helps you better connect with the person. So I kept getting that message. Maybe that was the adult me reading it and that's what I needed, but it was a message I think that comes through as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful because that's kind of part two of what I'm trying to do. I remember while I was writing this, and thinking back to how I reacted when I was a child, and then now as an adult reflecting on it, I remembered what an old pastor had told me. When things are bad, the first thing we always say is why? Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why? Why are you doing this to me? And he told me instead of asking why, we should ask how. We may never understand the why. We don't have all the answers, and maybe you get it later, maybe years from now it'll make sense, but maybe you might not. So instead of focusing on the why, focus on the how. How am I going to react? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to cope? How can I move forward from this?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I help this person? So always ask yourself how. And I think that stuck with me too.
Yeah.
So as I was writing of there is no solution, like, permanent solution. What is the how? If you were young, if you were a child, what can you do in
Yes.
this situation? So that kind of came up as that,
Yeah.
and hoping that there's always a way. There's always hope. There's always hope.
So that why versus how is now going to be on a sticky note right next to my computer as a remote. What a beautiful shift of language that could really change the game. Oh, I love that. Now, we've talked so far about the beautiful story and the beautiful message and the beautiful relationship on the page, but we have to mention the beautiful illustrations. They
Yes.
are gorgeous, and I'd love for you to tell listeners a bit about them. They can't see them, but they're going to understand how beautiful they are from the ways that we talk about them. They're just gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, shout out to one of my favorite illustrators in the whole wide world, Jamie Bauza, who is a Philippine based artist. I know she's won awards in the Philippines. She designs tote bags for the biggest department store. She does all kinds of great things, murals.
Wow.
Um, when here's a part people that might not understand is that I never met her.
Yeah.
I never knew her. I was when the editor asked me, for thoughts on illustrators. Of course, they had their ideas. I said I did my research. I looked online. We were both specifically looking for a Filipino artist who would really bring some of the details home.
Yeah.
That's um, Jamie was actually number three on my choice. The first one didn't work out. The second one didn't work out either. And then she came along and thought, oh, okay. And when I saw the drafts of,
Yeah.
I believe she was given the text and then she gave us drafts of her interpretation of the story. And editor asked me, well, what do you think? And I emailed her back and I said, I had tears in my eyes and I had to hold my heart. And I said the first words that I thought of as soon as I looked at the picture she did was home. The first
Mm,
thing I thought of was home. And I said, she brought home the story. She finished it. Whatever I started, she was like the exclamation point to
yeah.
whatever I was trying to say. She brought it home. She clearly understood it, and I felt it.
Yes.
And I think for an author, it's the greatest feeling like somebody got it and is now bringing it to life.
Yes.
Um, she drew the guava tree outside the window of the home, my Lola's home. I never told her that. I never told her that
Wow.
there was a huge guava tree outside the window of my Lola's bedroom. You could see it. The gate that she drew reminded me of my other grandfather's gate, the street. And I said, how did she know this? I know she's based in the Philippines, but how did she know the details
Uh,
of this that I never told anybody? Um, and when I saw it, I thought, she's it.
yeah.
This is it. It was meant to be. And the way that she made the pictures looked as though Lola was drawing it and Maria was drawing it. And it just made it real. It made
Yes.
it look as though they were creating the pictures in the book together.
Yes.
And that was it. That was it. By the time I read to the end of the book, I was crying again and thought,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And that's what the pictures do. They are gorgeous. There's something about the way that she kind of uses the brush stroke and the movement on the page, the color palette on the page is just gorgeous. But there's a layer of emotion to
Yes.
those images that really brought this beautiful story to life that you feel. You do feel it as a reader. It's
And, and
gorgeous.
as and as a writer, yeah, it brought me to tears and I felt it. I felt my own story. I suddenly was transported back
Yeah.
to home, to seeing my house there, to seeing my grandparents there. And I said, this is crazy. This is the power of art. I
Yes.
said, and I'm experiencing it firsthand that she took me back to how many years ago? I'm old and she took me back to little old me.
Yeah.
And her work is powerful. And I said, yeah, you thank goodness she came along. She's
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Well,
I would
actually,
love her.
in light of what you just said, you could have asked, why didn't number one work out? Why did number two work out? What's going to happen? But instead, how is this serving the book? How is this bringing the book right to where it needs to be? And that's the
Sometimes you just
beautiful
gotta,
fusion.
yeah. Sometimes you just gotta flow, go with the flow with the universe.
Yes.
Somehow trust the process.
Yes.
Trust the process.
Yes.
It's gonna work out. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad we came along. And now we're friends. We keep in touch online. And when she sees the book, like at the Bologna Book Festival or in the Philippines at a bookstore, she would Instagram me and say, I've
Yes.
seen at blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put that out too. Thank you so much. Keep sending me pictures.
Yeah. What a cool feeling that must be to see your book out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was such an honor to see it when on a bookshelf in the Philippines. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, oh my gosh, to see
Full
it
circle.
there, yeah, to see it, and hopefully there's a little Filipino kid just like me reaching for
Yes.
it and thinking,
Yes.
cool, this is great. Maybe I can write one too.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'd love to follow up with a question around that is what is your hope for the book as the book gets out there, as kids pick it up off the shelves? What's your hope for the book or for the readers who get to read it?
Um, I hope that first of all, because of the topic, I hope that it opens up conversations for families and their young ones, how to talk about difficult times in their family, especially if it involves an illness of a loved one. How important it is to talk to your children about it and the level that they will understand. Try not to hide it from them because it really does cause more fear and confusion, just like it did for me. And I don't place blame on my family, but when you're caught up in all that, do the best you can.
Yeah.
So try to have some conversation and help them understand. I hope that it gives children hope and that there's always a way to connect with your loved one. Use your creativity, use your talent, use what you have that you can think of in order to connect, to remain connected to your loved ones. And I also hope for the young Filipino Americans out there that it inspires them to tell their stories. I was wrong, guys. People do care. People do want to hear personal stories. People do. It's not just about magic and dragons and things like
Right.
that. People do want to connect with other people's stories and be able to relate to them or learn about them. People want to do that, and even kids want to do that. So
Mhm.
everybody has a tale to tell. Everybody has so many great stories. That's what
Yeah.
makes us unique. Tell your story, share it with the world, because you never know whose life you might change, who's you might inspire, who you might encourage.
Yeah.
Just share it.
Yep. That's literally what could change the world. That
Mm.
right there. Tell our stories and share them. What a
Imagine if we all did that
I know.
and people listened.
Yeah.
Imagine what the world could be like if everybody would just had the courage to tell their story and we all sat down and listened to one another.
Oh, it feels good. Doesn't that feel good inside in the heart? Like if we just did that and your book could be a catalyst for someone
I
to
hope
do
so.
that. Yeah.
We need a lot more love and understanding in our world.
Yes, I agree. Now looking forward, this was your debut picture book. What do you hope for in the future?
Um, I am hoping to get more picture books published. I have been working on some again. Now I'm now focusing more on being able to share some of my Filipino culture and my heritage.
Yeah.
Um, right now I'm not represented, so I'm looking for a representation for anyone out there. um, and if the picture books aren't working out right now, I do have a middle grade story that's been swimming in my head and keeping me up at night. So again, I think based on experience, I should listen to the universe. If it's telling you something, do
Yes.
it. So I'm so afraid, but I'm gonna dive in.
Yeah. You're going to do it anyway because of what we just said, because that could be the thing that reader needs, and then just keep that beautiful cycle going.
Now that I've said it, I feel like now I have to. I better
That's
make it
right.
happen now that I've committed. When you say it, there's power in saying it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now you just put it out there in the universe. You gotta make it happen now. The
That's right.
universe will help you, but you
That's
gotta
right.
make that first step.
Yep. And we all heard you. So we got it. We got you.
I have witnesses.
That's
Oh
right.
man, now I gotta do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm scared to death, but I'll do it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. Now, where can listeners find you online so that they can, hold you accountable and see what's next?
Yeah, exactly. Pester me. I am at ChristinaOxtra.com. That is my website. On Instagram, I am at KickButtWriter.
Love it.
Not because I kick my butt at writing, but I'm also a Taekwondo instructor, so I thought I'd put the two things together.
Oh, I
So,
love that. That's
so if you
perfect.
want to learn about writing and books and a little bit about martial arts, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
Wonderful. Well, I will make sure to put links to those things in the show notes. And of course, a link to your beautiful debut picture book. Thank you so much for coming to give us the backstory behind this book. I wish it so much love as it goes out into the world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be here. And for those who are aspiring writers, keep writing. Keep
Yeah,
writing. You never know. You never know what might happen, and you never know whose life you might change or heart you might touch. Just do
that's
it.
great. Oh, what a beautiful message to end on. Thank you so much, Christina. And listeners, thank you so much for listening to another episode of KidLit Love. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kid Lit Love. Thanks for listening.